lovely good morning to you, our viewers. Welcome again to another exciting edition of the Camnet TV Breakfast Show on your #1 favorite station in Zambia. I am your host, Miriam Kaimba. I hope you are having a lovely morning like I am myself, huh? It's quite a good morning, though it's raining a bit, but anyway, please wake up. If you haven't woken up yet, please wake up and prepare for work. And those watching us in the comfort of your home, please do participate in our conversation this morning by calling us on the numbers scrolling down your screen. And those watching us live on Facebook, you can take part in our conversation by dropping us the message. We'll be able to read them through. But anyway, right about now, we'll go direct into our morning boost, just to ensure that we exercise and keep our body fit and intact. Later on, I will be joined by my colleague in studio, Ziporamsha. But for now, we go direct into our morning boost.
Hello. It's your boy Harrison, aka the Fitness Puppy, and I'm saying happy festival season to you. And we are here again at John's Fitness Gym in Kablonga in conjunction with the Camnet TV. And guys, today I am going to take you in two variations of deadlift. Apparently we have 3 variations of deadlift. So now here you can just perform 2 types of deadlifts. Okay, so first I'm going to start with this usual one, the conventional one, like the most popular. So this one, I'm sure in my previous video you saw it. Chin part of your body, the chin body has to be close to the bar. Then your hand has to be outside the legs. Then you hold it nicely. Then pull it up. And then, as usual, the ending part is the core as well as the glutes. So this is the conventional type of deadlifts. Okay. So this was the conventional type of deadlift. So I'm going to show you another one. So this one is called the sumo deadlift. So the sumo deadlift, stand wide. Then instead of your arms to be outside the legs, now they are inside the legs. And the conventional one, you are going to pull down the bar using your back. So now this one, you are using your legs. So it's more like a squat. So you bend all the way. Then so remember, when you go up, the chest has to be out. Oh, that's all for today. You've been with me, Harrison, aka the Fitness Puppy. Remember, it's about your health, and we are here at John's Fitness Gym in Kablonga. Say bye-bye.
Correct indeed. Remember, it's all about your health. Make sure that you exercise each and every morning just to ensure, you keep your body intact and in check. It's very, very essential that, every single morning you try by all means to do 1 or 2 little exercise. Very, very important there. But right about now, go direct into our healthy corner and just see what the doctors have for us.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on The Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya. So this week we are talking about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And yesterday we said non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is a condition where there's an accumulation of fat in the liver. And this fat can cause inflammation and injury to the liver and cause the liver to become scarred or to have scarring in the liver, which can result in fibrosis of the liver and later can result in cirrhosis, liver cirrhosis, which is where the liver is shrinking in size because of the injury that has been occurring for a very long time. So today we'll talk about what causes this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and what are some of the risk factors. So non-alcoholic fatty liver disease usually occurs in people who are obese and overweight. So if you are overweight and obese, you're at risk of having non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And with obesity also comes with the risk of having diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol. But even people who are not obese but have these conditions of diabetes and hypertension can also present with a non-alcoholic liver disease. So other risk factors include people who have other conditions like hypothyroidism, because your thyroid is not functioning well, and so you're not able to metabolize fat cells, and so there's an accumulation of fat cells in the liver as well. Then people who take who smoke are also at risk of having non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So usually this disease occurs in people who don't take alcohol, and you find that the person is not taking alcohol or taking very little alcohol and still develops a liver condition. And so we find that they have an accumulation of fat in the liver. So there are other causes as well that can cause non-alcoholic liver disease. Apart from having these risk factors, there are also some other causes, such as having a viral hepatitis. So if you have a virus, which we call hepatitis virus, it can lead to having a fatty liver as well. Then the other causes include nutritional disorders. If you have certain nutritional disorders where your body is not having nutritional deficiencies, you can also have a fatty liver. Other people might have inborn errors of metabolism, where you are born with a certain genetic dysfunction that can lead you to having a fatty liver. And so you need to be investigated in the hospital to check exactly what is causing this problem that you are having. So today we are learning that non-alcoholic liver disease can occur in people who are obese and overweight. Most of the times, these are the people that have a fatty liver disease or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And it can also happen in people with diabetes, people with hypertension, people with high cholesterol. Other risk factors are that if you smoke tobacco, you are also at risk of having non-alcoholic liver disease. However, there are other causes as well, like viral hepatitis and inborn errors of metabolism, and also people who have nutritional deficiencies. So tomorrow we'll talk about some of the signs and symptoms of non-alcoholic liver disease, how you can be able to tell that you have non-alcoholic liver disease. So make sure you watch again tomorrow, and thank you for watching. Stay healthy.
Thank you so much, Doc, for that healthy tip. Very, very important. And we are glad that, the doctors have been bringing us those healthy tips. Very, very important for us to, follow through and just understand certain kind of diseases, information with regards to our healthy that we need to learn about. Right about now, we go direct into our money market and see how our kwacha is faring against other currencies. So we have the United States dollar. They are buying at 19 kwacha 34 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 72 ngwe. We have the South African rand. They are buying at 1 kwacha 07 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 09 ngwe. We have the euro. They are buying at 20 kwacha 66 ngwe and selling at 21 kwacha 07 ngwe. We have the Great British pound. They are buying at 23 kwacha 27 ngwe and selling at 23 kwacha 73 ngwe. On the dollar part there, we can see it's already almost going to 20 kwacha. Anyway, we pray and hope for the best. We pray and hope for the best indeed. Anyway, moving forward, we have now officially opened our 49s. Please take part in our conversation this morning, where we are looking at trending issues that are happening in your communities. Talking about floods, talking about security issues, and many more other issues that affect your communities. Please do give us a call, and those watching us live on Facebook, please drop us a message. We'll be able to read them through. So now, 2 days ago, we had the local authority, that is the Ministry of Local Government, directing local authorities to ban the sale of already cooked food in the street. This decision was done in order to curb the spread of cholera. Yeah, indeed. But anyway, yesterday we saw one of our reporters going on the ground, where she did interview some traders who have complained about the decision by government to ban the sale of already cooked food, saying this will affect their business. Anyway, let's get direct into playing that story. We'll continue with our conversation.
With the coming of the rainy season in Zambia, the threat of outbreaks of waterborne diseases such as cholera and other diarrheal ailments heightens. The risk of the country experiencing disease outbreaks becomes even more imminent, with increased vending and continued sale of ready-to-eat foods on the streets, especially in Lusaka. It is to this effect that on Sunday, 19th February 2023, the government, through the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, directed all local authorities countrywide to enforce all the necessary laws and bylaws to ban the sale of ready-to-eat foods on the streets to curb the outbreak of cholera.
Given the need to curb the spread of cholera, I am now directing all local authorities across the country to heighten surveillance activities. I'm directing them to work in close collaboration with the Ministry of Health to ensure that we curb the spread of cholera. Secondly, and I further direct that all local authorities must enhance or implement all the bylaws with regards to public health. What this entails, therefore, is that the sale of foodstuffs in the streets is and must be banned because it is not permitted.
However, traders and consumers, when spoken to by Camnet TV News, have complained over the decision, stating that it will not stop the spread of cholera but interfere with their businesses.
Yana bwana yakuti wapaninge ma street vendors sizawama because muri ya mine business nje mwatsungira vanhu. Tena ngondise ma single mothers. Manje wakati paninga ifiti tiende tizanda tingene munjira osiyana siyana. So batisiye ko chapaningela ko chifundo tisigurisa tani. Nje mwatipeza ndrabo mwamine. Tibakwisa ma chips yana tigurisa. Kana kangono tando songera ko kunyumba ta tikira ko na vana vakuti. Manje batipaninge manje chitise mazampeza kuti mzama. Kuri bendia munjira ndiye mwamuno amene waneti naye wamene ndiye anatithandiza manje vafuna tibaningi
peka zati bwani mukazi kuiza vukudye pa ma street maza mukudye chana peka zati pezeka na 5 kwacha ya muntu ntumba ola 10 kwacha peka zati ve vukudye pa ma street ndi matipulumuza maona ka peka zati economy silimushe ndama za vuta peka zati bwani zasta bwani ndama za vuta pa peka.
They have appealed to the government to rather concentrate on cleaning the streets than having the sale of ready-to-eat food banned, as it is their only source of income.
So we are fighting this difficult economic crisis. We are trying to sell food outside. The only thing the government can help us is help us with hygiene, not by closing down our businesses, because we are going to bring a lot of crimes, because a lot of crime and prostitution, because us girls who believe in working on our own, what are we going to do if you take away what we have? We don't have careers. The only thing we have is this. If you ban all these things, where are we going to get food? How are we going to feed our families? It would be really unfair for us. The only thing the government can help us is create solution and help us by making our roads clean. How can we?
Beatrice Chabaya, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Quite interesting views there. I really don't know. But anyway, give us a call, and those watching us on Facebook, drop us a message. Do you think this was the correct move by government, by the local, to be specific, the Ministry of Local Government, to give a directive to all local authorities to ban the sale of already cooked food in the street in order to curb the spread of cholera? Was it done in the correct way? Was this necessary? Anyway, a lot of people, especially those who have been affected, claim that, government should have, rather than banning the sale of already cooked food on the street, should have been cleaning the street in order to, to stop the spread of cholera. But have we seen the exercise of ensuring that our city is being kept clean, being maintained? Anyway, give us your call. We want to hear from you, our viewers who is watching us this morning. Give us a call so that we get interacting. What is your thought there? Now, moving forward to one of the stories that we had in our news yesterday, we saw one of our reporters, Zipporah Mshala, who will be joining me on set shortly, did a story in Garden Compound where water from sewer ponds in Gwerere Ward 22 of Lusaka Garden Compounds are spilling into the community owing to heavy rain being experienced in the country. Anyway, let's get direct into playing the story. We'll continue with our discussion.
As if the flooding of toilets in some parts of the country owing to floods is not enough, residents of Ngwerere Ward 22 in Lusaka's Garden Compound have been greeted by overflowing sewer ponds, with the contents of the ponds flowing like a river right into the community. Those affected say this problem, which began on Saturday 18th February 2023, needs urgent intervention, as the matter has already been reported to the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company. While some of the water is flowing to people's houses, part of it is falling into the drainage system and pouring into the community when it rains. This has also come about due to blockages in the sewer ponds caused by grass as well as garbage.
If a report is made, instantly they have to come on the spot and assess the situation. You can imagine from Saturday up to today, if this thing had to burst, a lot of lives could have been affected. Not only that, that's when you see now the government coming with the tents, meal, for what? Okay. Because these things can be avoided instantly. So what I request to Lusaka Water is to block the intake for now. They block the intake, and then we see where the blockage is, they start unblocking.
Disaster and so vinaboka
nikolera vimanzi vipita pamayati so tingapembeko boma uti vimapondi vivaliwe so tichita maninga affect because so fine na mwana hapa mnyumba bampeza typhoid so now manzi ngatiachoka soya. How can we survive? So we need help about this situation.
Isoka mosquito amensha yaena ya mayadi mosi so abana tabale yanga mamon kuti tureba kakira fyo mayani twalai kana sana so if
ini problem ikulu maningi sort out izangalapa and promisa by March isiwachose otherwise zangala matenda yoipa kuno garden so ama ponds jabe chikulu bayachose ne solution izangala kuno na solution yambo chitikapa bazafutana nayo vantu wonse batenga mapini mataipa batela maponds so paja wa blocking iwa now so solution jabe bachose maponds.
Meanwhile, World Development Committee Chairperson Kalimukwa has added a word on the situation.
The immediate solution is to unblock the outlets which gives the other ponds. And if they do that, you find that water level from this pond will come down.
We also got in touch with Area Councillor Adrian Banda.
My view is whosoever be found wanting throwing garbage, the law shall take its own course. Because if today we receive the rains, it can cause a lot of diseases, typhoid and so forth. So please, let's try by all means to safeguard the sewer ponds. They will come and work on it as soon as possible.
By broadcast time, manpower from the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company had been deployed onto the site to conduct some unblocking, but the residents are calling for long-lasting solutions. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
A very, very sad scenario there. But anyway, we have the reporter who did the story in studio as well as my co-host. Zipporah, please tell us exactly what transpired there.
Yes, good morning, ma'am, and good morning to our viewers. So it is a really sad situation in garden compound, ma'am. I don't even think I would advise someone in garden compound to drink water from the tap. Because, ma'am, I'm not going to lie to you. We made that mistake yesterday, not from the tap, but anyway, someone, gave us some water, and now I'm terribly sick.
Wow.
So I think, with all the leakages that we normally have, like water leakages, and all that's happening
so
there.
The water is being mixed up.
I really think so. Don't even make that mistake. So I think that should be declared, an environmental disaster, a health disaster, really. You can't go to a community, you find that the sewer ponds, are overspilling into the community. That is cholera right there at the brink of happening. That is cholera at the brink of happening. It is extremely serious, and I hope that urgent measures are taken. And yesterday, I'm sure you heard one of the residents there saying, there is need for action now. We don't want tents when there's an outbreak of typhoid or cholera. We start bringing tents, food and all. We don't want that. We want action now, before anything happens. And one of the women there said her son even has typhoid already. We actually found her coming back from the clinic.
Because I can imagine the way the water was spilling down.
Yes. From the sewer ponds, it has overflown. It's going right into the community.
And with this rain season, basically there are floods there. So you are forced now to step in the water if you do not have the gumboots.
And the little children going to school, what if someone falls in there? That's just cholera.
Anyway, we hope that there will be necessary action taken in by the relevant authority there. I'm glad that the ward councillor was there to ensure that, he is there to help his residents and address their concerns. But anyway, I hope that the area member of parliament in that constituency will be there on board just to look at the situation, DMMU maybe should come on board.
They should, definitely. And the Lusaka Water and the Sanitation Company, that's the area, the swap ones. Yeah. Yesterday, we saw them, trying to circle the area and all that. But then, those people are saying they've been reporting that matter since Saturday. Nothing has happened. Wow. So they're saying there's need to create another, passageway for the water because it is blocked with the garbage, with all the grass. No one maintains it. And another thing, like you heard the councillor saying, he was warning people into the habit of indiscriminate waste disposal, of the full wrath of the law. I think, so there the residents are saying, no one even comes to collect garbage here. We pay to these community-based enterprises. Maybe that's why people are now throwing it in there. So I think that's a situation which needs to be looked into urgently. Anyway, do give us a call. What are your thoughts on the overflowing sewer ponds in Garden Compound, as well as other trending issues in the community? Is the response from the authorities quick enough, or are we sitting on a looming disaster of cholera, typhoid, and other waterborne diseases? Do call us or leave us a message on Facebook.
So still on flood issues, anyway, we did see one of our reporters yesterday, Patrick Soko, doing a story in Lusaka's Kamala South area where the residents there have called upon the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, and council to help them avert possible environmental health issues in the wake of the floods. Anyway, let's get into playing that story. We'll continue with our discussion.
Poor waste management, ranging from non-existing collection systems to ineffective disposal, causes air pollution, water and soil contamination. Open and unsanitary landfills contribute to contamination of drinking water and can cause infections and transmit diseases. Notably, Zambia has been highly affected by flash floods, and most communities are failing to cope with the effects, leading to the mixing of garbage, sewage and water. And Lusaka's Kamara South area in Kabwata constituency is among the worst affected. The stagnant, dirty water poses threats of waterborne diseases such as diarrhea, typhoid and cholera, and has further created a bleeding ground for mosquitoes. Those who spoke to Camnet TV News are calling on the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, to extend the provision of chlorine and other disinfectants among preventive measures.
Vana vazapuru mukabwanji matenda kuli malaria tufunako chlorine at least mukabwalako baeofu batilako munkola wa mosquito tufunako langu watotakola wa mosquito net pantu wena ngudibe wa mosquito net tuzasurvive bwanji situation mwaona hapo. So manyumba yonse pakati abantu bakuka kulimanzi kulibota au kabana kuyenda. So chetupe mpako chabe mwaiwonera nozionera mwene bake tekuonekera kuno mabini afika mundo apa ungadire nsima pado munyumba pakafika chese 17 hours kakwana pa mosquito mwainzi full munyumba
ndini manzi yachivuta so anapogwira tunauti tianga mireko nani manipatali vana vangadwale so shamtifuna kuifanyika ndira pia tulakona msitone kama mankwala utingative mpombikiza kuti idingene pansi kuti bakatenganireko.
Others are appealing to authorities to find a lasting solution to the problem of drainages in the area.
Ngonese kumasaiti kwatu kuna peptili ripeti nkala pari danger pamagumu kapeka na toilet amene silipo na musha. So tipempa kotandizwa president Obama yanganirepo
uma mosquito koenda tizasowa manzi azura manyumba titanizireko migodi za paka kuno afunika bakonze batitandizireko atimeko matipa yo kuti batireko doti boma afunika tandizireko banganirepo vakansera vakuno vataireko nzeru votozingwa kudya chensima vankhala pamakomo vaziyanganakola vevichitika mumasaidi mwanzavo.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Quite a sad story there. We have seen, like that people have continued being affected with these floods, coupled with garbage and stuff. Basically, it's really an environmental health hazard there. Your thoughts on that, Zipporah?
Yes, so Miriam, that is a really sad situation, and previously we used to see it in places, like Chunga, Mrs. but even places like Kawata now are having the same situation. So I think like as a permanent solution, what we need are, rigorous systems to make sure that people are actually disposing of this garbage. Like last time I was talking to Mtendero at 34 Councillor, Mr. Boniface Uweka, was actually suggesting door-to-door checkups so that people show you their receipts that they're subscribed to a community-based enterprise, which is going to dispose of waste for them, and those who do not have those receipts as proof should be, arrested or charged, rather fined, for the same. I think that will really change the mindset of people.
I think that should be the move going forward, because
I think I'm going to stand as councillor so that I will make sure that's happening. So
councillors in 2026.
No, in fact, MP,
member of parliament. Indeed, I love that vision. But that idea is very, very brilliant. It's very essential for civic leaders to put into consideration.
Oh, we have a caller, Miriam. Hello, good morning.
Morning, madam. How are you?
We are fine, thank you, sir. How are you?
I'm okay.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
This is Stefan from Material Compound.
It's good to know that Matera is watching us. Please give us your comment.
My contribution is over the stuff on both so that they help us in this challenges we are facing right now. Because if you see the CBD area, it's the most affected area. There are no substance water which are not even moving, so fire won't spare us in the CBD area. So the council and the GMU need to come on board so that they remove those stagnant water which are just not.
I think we've gotten the point where the council needs to move in and remove some garbage.
Yeah,
which is, you know, when we're experiencing like pools of water, this stagnant water, we have an increased risk of waterborne diseases. But anyway, just now we move on to our next topic, where we have Kamwala Ward 5 Councillor Mr. Minders Mata, who's going to help us discuss issues, community issues in his ward. Just yesterday we saw a 17-year-old boy, Victor Kalumba, who drowned on Saturday while swimming in the flood water, and he was rescued actually by his friends. So let's just take a look at the story as we get joined by our guests. But remember to keep interacting in the topic. She wept uncontrollably after the body of her son Victor Kalumba, who drowned on Saturday while swimming in flood water, was finally retrieved by his friends Monday morning, after a body search by the fire brigade proved futile on the material day. Victor Kalumba, the said 17-year-old, drowned in these flood waters in Lusaka's Kamala South, and his body was lost in the water from the said day.
Chativava ni community yatu yonse so tiyo pana bana batu kubazambo bwera futi so nga baona che situation mwamene ankalira so mvula nga asira tipapata bapangeko ma drainage manzi noti akazinkalira ko
Langanani kuti bana bali safe we could be ma drainage kuno as the time goes bazaleta ma drainage, but try to save your children. Maona every time kuno kuchitika ma death
boma isewezepo
Earlier on, before the body was found, Camnet News caught up with his family, which was camped by the water, while community members expressed their fears.
They are camped by the water 3 days after 17-year-old Victor Kalumba drowned in the water while swimming with his friends on 18th February 2023 around 13 hours. This is the family of the deceased who have been camping here by the water, as they cannot hold a funeral because their son is still in the water. Camnet News talked to his mother, Betty Banda, who has talked about the need for the government to ensure that her son is safely rescued.
Mwana wanga nkalisa 3 days per month.
Tankala 3 days kuriye bamene batitandiza ise pano tinchoma kwamene kuno tinkala kwamene kuno notandizo ili yonse tinaonepo muntu ali yonse shuwa kuchoka pano pachipa chapone kuma 13 hours pamene vanabwera fabricate kufika na lero day ya lero sibaoneka
madaiva zimpafupi maningi atitanizeko yabwera changeni pamanzi yasakireko mwana ni 3 days now manje anangena mazo mwana pamanzi
tipemba kombo titandizeko kozi umwana mwamene anangenera kuchokera pa Saturday up to date ba brigade babwela ba police baenda without doing anything, and look at the family, the way they are suffering.
While Camnet News was at the site, his friends who were brave enough to jump into the water risked their lives, jumped into the water.
Meanwhile, Kamwala Ward 5 Councillor Mainda Simata has called for urgent measures before more lives are lost in the floods.
Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Quite an interesting story there, and this just shows you how serious the flood situation is in Lusaka, necessitating, permanent solutions such as the putting up of drainages to avoid future solutions. And to help us discuss the issues in Kamwala Ward 5, we have been joined by Kamwala Ward 5 Councillor Mr. Mainda Simata. Good morning, Mr. Simata.
Morning, Zipporah. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
We are glad to have you on the show this morning.
Pleasure.
Now, just talking about the flood situation, I'm sure many people are wondering, are there any long-term measures that have been put up to make sure that maybe this water is drained, to see people going back to their normal lives? Churches opening once again.
Thank you very much for the question. First of all, let me start by passing my sincere condolences to the family of the boy that drowned. And by the way, Zipporah and viewers, you would like to know that this is not the first death that has occurred. This is about the second death in a space of 2 weeks. The first one occurred near the Ring Road, where there is Mount Meru filling station. Another boy drowned there, but it wasn't properly reported. That boy is from Mrs. Compound. So these are the issues that I had been warning about long before we recorded any deaths. And I did appeal to the rightful officers to say, let's be proactive about ensuring to say that those people that are living around these areas like the Dumbos, where there's a lot of water, because you understand that Kamwala South has got some areas which are very, very deep, because this is where people used to dig out material, building material, when they were building houses. So this is like these are Dumbos where water is very, very steep. You have almost like dams in those areas. So we haven't had the needful response from the right officers in terms of evacuating these people, because even where you were yesterday, I'm sure you saw for yourself that there are some houses which are almost at window level in terms of flooding, and you've still got people in those houses. I'm told
they're living there?
Yes, I'm told there's a mother of a baby who lives in one of those houses, and she literally has to wade through the water up to waist level whenever she's going out. So we are still looking at possibilities of people drowning there, whether inadvertently or deliberately. We have schoolboys and other boys from other compounds who have seen that place as a source of amusement by going to swim in those waters. So I think a lot needs to be done in terms of evacuating those people who live around those areas. Those houses are simply inhabitable. And then I would also like to point out to say that this problem of flooding is not just a problem for the council, city council, or any other responsible institutions. It's also about the people, because you do remember to say that people have built houses where they shouldn't have built houses. You had a spate of cadarism where plots were given indiscriminately. People did not apply to the council for building permission. They were not guided on where they can build and where they cannot build. And we have a situation whereby some houses are literally built in those trenches. Little can be done about that. Even if we had to dig drainages, there is no way the water can flow upwards. It's simply impossible.
What could be the long-lasting solution?
The long-lasting solution is that some houses which are built near those dams literally have to be demolished. People have to evacuate them. Then those that are above those dams, those you can dig drainages which can drain water past them to the nearest drainages like Bombay drainage on Estalungu Road or on the Ring Road. But basically the job of digging drainages is a vast one, because there are a lot of places which literally have no drainages. And again, when you look at digging drainages, people have built wall fences where they should have left road reserves for the drainages to pass. So there will be an engineering assessment of the situation, and reports will be given where suggestions will be made on who should demolish walls, those that should pave way for those drainages to pass, because that's the only way that we can have a lasting solution.
At the moment, are there any plans to look for a temporary accommodation for these affected victims?
Plans are there. I think about 2 weeks ago, I did approach the DMMU, and I was assured that a temporary shelter in terms of tents, water bowsers, food and non-food items would be arranged. I went both to the national office as well as the provincial office. I was given those assurances. I was told as soon as they do the reports, they do their own costing and analysis, then money will be released to evacuate these people. We even identified a place where they would go. That is Maxwell Sibongo police station, because we felt they need to be in a secure place. So all those things were done, but up to now, nothing is happening. And as a civic leader and my MP, we're taking the blame for that from the people.
I can imagine. Are there any plans, to tap in from the Constituency Development Fund to help out sort this issue?
That is the first thing that we did. By the way, long before this, the rainy season intensified, we had applied for the release of the 5% contingency fund, because you know that under the CDF, there's a component called the contingency fund for emergencies. That is about, per year, it's about 788,000. We did apply for that. But I'll tell you to say that that money has not been forthcoming, because the process to get it is so bureaucratic. And this is what other councillors in Kabwata and elsewhere which are affected by floods have been asking, to say, what's the point of calling a fund an emergency fund if you cannot have access to it as soon as you need it? I can tell you to say, if we had that 788,000 as soon as we requested for it, I think we would have gone a long way in the process of at least putting up drainages and carrying out other remedial works to ensure to say that water in these waterlogged houses and yards begins to flow. But up to now, our papers, I believe, they're still sitting somewhere. They have not been signed. I do not know when that emergency fund is going to come out. Maybe it will come out after the rain season has passed, which is not supposed to be the case, because the emergency fund I'm talking about is for 2022. That's what we applied for. And this is 2023. There's another emergency fund. So if you add 700,000 plus another 700,000, we almost could have had something like 1.4 million, and it would have gone a long, long way in terms of alleviating and helping out the flood victims.
Quite interesting. Then, in case you're just joining us, we're discussing the issue of floods and other trending issues in Kamwala Ward 5. So do join us in the conversation. Now, another issue, Mr. Smata, which has come up is maybe should I say the urgency of the operations of the fire brigade department at the Lusaka City Council. You as area councillor, are you happy with the operations that were done to help that family?
Thank you. You see, when this incident of the boy that drowned happened on Saturday, the first respondents on the ground were the fire brigade themselves and the Zambia police. But mainly that's the task for the fire brigade, because they're a rescue entity. But I was told the moment I arrived to say the fire brigade came and they went. They didn't even report. They didn't say if they were coming back. They didn't even call me if they were coming back. Yesterday, I contacted the town clerk, because remember,
we have a call, Mr. Smata. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm fine, thank you. Please give us your name, where you're calling us from, and your contribution. It's good to know that Chilanga is watching. Please go ahead.
The people who are doing what they should do, they have information that they were supposed to use because when you look at the second and third data, they are very not different. They are not exactly well in the store. So that's the very different. And this is very sorry for the people who understand the Islam program, because that's the area of the problem with the exercise to the business. We have to put just on the higher and the other one. The time is a person where I lost our not together. I think that is kind of one of the messages. Because I was to myself, I know the area is not in the city, because if the actual thing is, then most of the life will be left. Because that's also that we take it as water. It will not be done together. Then trying to be patriotic, this are not the old guy in water. Not children in the toilet. Yes, but council. You know, the conservation has already affected. So, as now as the legal requires the justice system to try and look at the people have a lot of life. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much for that contribution. Miriam, maybe you can just summarize it. I think the line was not that clear.
Maybe just to take away one of the points that our caller did mention is that the part of negligence, parent negligence on the boy that drowned in that water, in the floods, and also the issue where they given a warning, these guys, that they need to evacuate from those locations, given the fact that, you know, the allocation of lands basically was not done in a proper manner. They were given by cutters and stuff. And every year we keep on, in that area, they keep on experiencing these floods thing where they're given a warning or sort of that. Yeah.
We have another caller, Miriam.
Okay, we'll keep that question down so that he doesn't forget it. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
You are through to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Who are we talking to this morning?
Yes. I want to comment on the doctor which is found on the compound.
Please go ahead.
We blame the councillor. These are the people who were often brought even in plant settlement with their political affiliations. So they spread this wrong compound throughout the city. The city is not planned because of these councillors and their political affiliation. And now they are asking for money from the government to help the people who they were not planning as they were getting brought. We have now a problem with these guys. Let them call all those political cadres who are getting brought to any place where there is water loss, where the water passes, so they must be accountable in paying for these people. Because it's their problem, not the government's problem. The council has no plots in the city. All the plots are for these countries and their councillors. So there is nothing there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Anyway, Mr. Smarter, the blame again has been, you know, thrown back to the councillor over the disaster that are being found in the compounds. Anyway, maybe your response as well as to our previous caller.
Right, thank you very much. You know, part of being in leadership is you get positive feedback, you get negative feedback. I think we embrace that. But however, I would like to guide the caller that governments come and go. When he puts the blame on the councillors, he must be specific to which regime he's referring to. If he's referring to the UPND regime, then I think he's mistaken. But if he's referring to if he's referring to the UPND government, he's mistaken. But if he's referring to the PF regime, then he's 100% correct. There was a massive illegal allocation of plots. And sometimes these cadres did not even consult the council. They were just giving it, then the council would do what they call a formalization. So really, the historical problem has been there that there's been allocating or giving out of plots by political aligned persons, if you so wish. That has resulted in unplanned settlements, which have got no reserves for water lines, sewer lines, or even drainages. So that is a very difficult thing to correct, but remedial measures can be done. But like I said in my preamble, there are those areas which engineers from Lusaka City Council have clearly stated to say these places are inhabitable. Even if we were to go and dig drainages, those places will still flood at the end of the day. And those are the places where we're saying people must have long-lasting solutions to leave those places that are literally in dumbles. You were there yesterday. And really, if you look where some of the houses are built, you even wonder to say, but even the person who was buying this plot, couldn't he see to say that he's been sold a plot in a place which is inhabitable? Those are one of the issues. Then the other question, I think the caller was
referring to the negligence by the parents over the boy that drowned there, and also putting a blame on councillors that, you know, every time the allocation of land is given, councillors are there and they watch these things happening.
Yes, so I think it would be unfair to blame the parents on a case of negligence, because that boy, to start with, was 18, and the parents do not know where their children go when they leave home. So I think it would be unfair to blame the parents. The boys, you know, they are children. Children will be children, and I think even the deceased boy himself, he can't be blamed. At the end of the day, I think such places should be cordoned off or sealed off, and that's what we have done to the other dam, which is, it's not a dam, but it's flooded. It looks like a dam or a lake or something along Tokyo Way. What we have done is that we have told the fire brigade to cordon off and seal off the place, and we've sensitized communities around that area to ensure to say that nobody's allowed anywhere near that place, even if there's, I mean, especially the school-going children who like to go and play around that area. So we are doing our level best in that area, but the task is not so easy, because at the end of the day, you can't provide 24-hour security watch in these places.
Now, the argument might be, you said those residents in those affected areas where there's floods, they should relocate the places and, you know, completely move away from there. The argument will be, are you going to provide, is government going to provide land for them, an alternative land for them elsewhere?
You see, that's a very difficult, it's a very difficult situation, in that, of course, we have to sympathize that they invested a lot in those houses. Some of them literally used their pension money or their savings to build in those places. But what we are saying is that if you build a house in a dam or in a settlement which is very low lying, no drainage can help you. It will mean every year you're going to be prone to such kind of calamity. And in our assessment, I think the engineers spotted about 25 or so houses in that area. And you're talking about a ward which has got over 150,000 households. So I think decisions have to be made. Painful as they may be, unpopular as they may be, we have to tell the people the truth. Where you have built is a place where even a drainage cannot help you, and it's going to be prone to perennial flooding. So we advise, and I think even the council, the engineering department has been advising to say, in this place, even the fire brigade, because when we went on site with the fire brigade to pump out water, they looked at the situation and said, Councillor, this pumping of water here cannot work. Even if we had to bring our biggest machines, we can pump out water, but where are we going to dispose it to? Because we simply pump out water here and cause another flood.
Like last time we found them depositing it into, is it people's maize fields? The other time, the last time we went there last week, we found that it was being pumped from the community into maize fields.
Yes, on the other side of the ring road, on the Zesco power lines. Yes, but again, the volume of water which has to be pumped out is so massive that even if they succeeded, it will simply cause another flood on the other side. And we don't want to create a problem. We don't want to create a problem by trying to solve another problem.
Another key issue has been, we've seen that some residents, especially near Yellow Shop, have been calling for mobile toilets, because we know most of the toilets, like for those who use pit latrines, most of the toilets have been flooded. And so this has also been bringing a question like, where are people going to access toilets? Some have even suggested that maybe right there in the water. Well, how is the situation when it comes to toilets? Do we see, or is it attainable to help them with mobile toilets?
The last time that I went to the GMMU, that was one of the things that we requested. Because the issue of toilets, believe you me, this does not even just limit itself to those Dambo areas which are seriously affected by the floods. We are also talking about areas like where I live. Only about a week ago, even where I live, we had a sewer problem because a lot of these manhole covers are open. So when it rains, a lot of water gushes in. So some toilets in some houses were not even functioning. So that is a very massive problem. It cuts across the whole ward. And we did say in those areas where these things are very severe, we need mobile toilets to be provided by DMMU. We also said water bowsers need to be provided because water there now is contaminated. And you know, in some of those places, especially like Yellow Shop, you don't have water supplied by Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company, they use boreholes. So those boreholes are contaminated. So we did request for water bowsers and also mobile toilets. But again, those things have not come.
And another issue really was on the clinic, which has shut down. What has been the alternative? Because last time I heard the DMMU saying a tent to be brought up where people access clinical services. Has this tent been brought up yet?
The what?
A tent to, last week when we went to the DMMU over the Kamala South Health Post, they said they would bring a tent where people access, clinical services. Have we seen this being done?
No, there is no tent at the moment. And the only operation that is being carried out, I believe, is the measles vaccination. And these people are squatting on the opposite complex where there are the complex of shops, liquor stores, and other butcheries and the pharmacy. That's where they're squatting. That's where they've been given temporary shelter by my WGC chairperson, Mr. Milans. That's where they are. So literally the clinic has been shut down. But at least there was a bit hopeful yesterday because ZNS did move on to the site. And I think as we speak, they are digging a drainage right from the clinic about 200 meters all the way up to the ring road where there's the Bombay drainage. But the only hiccup is that at engine filling station, there was an armored electricity cable that went under the drain. So I think engine filling station has to disconnect that line to allow the drainage to pass because that's the only hiccup that's there. So according to the assessment, if that drainage is done, water will flow from the clinic onto the drainage. But I think the long-lasting solution is that there must be a redesign of that area because the water is, the surface is so underlying. It needs to be lifted up. If any other serious construction, like maybe the establishment of a level 1 hospital has to be done, there has to be proper engineering so that even in an event of flood, the clinical or other hospital operations are not affected as they are now.
Given the fact, considering the fact that each rainy season, your ward basically and other surrounding places in Kamala South are affected with these floods, is there any alternative permanent solution that you are looking into? Or rather, my question would be, why didn't you plan for this before, months before, so that you avoid certain situations? Because basically, coming every rain season, we always face these same problems each and every year.
Indeed. First of all, I think I would appreciate if you and the viewers note that I'm only 1 year, 6 months in office. So I've only experienced one serious rain season like this one to be able to assess, to say this is a perennial issue. However, the problem is also linked to finance, because to carry out the long-lasting solutions that you're talking about, which even the residents of Kamala want, and we're talking about drainages here, massive amounts of money has to be invested. And I've repeatedly said that the CDF funds alone cannot solve this problem, because you wipe out the entire CDF funds for the next 5 years if you're going to concentrate on drainages. What we have said is that RDA must step in, because RDA has got the national mandate to build roads as well as build drainages. It's their mandate. And so far, for the past 1 year, 6 months that I've been in office as a councillor, I've never received any communication from RDA, either indicating to say they are going to build roads or they've got a plan to build roads and drainages in that ward. So it remains now upon us as councillors to use the little resources we are getting from the CDF, which isn't quick to come as well, to apply some of that money to building temporary roads or gravel roads, as well as digging drainages. So it's an issue of resources, limited resources, and the delay in these resources being released that's causing slow works as far as the direction of digging drainages to avoid future calamities such as this happening.
With the lack of the communication breakdown and the delay of you being availed these resources, do you think there's a possibility of permanently addressing such situations?
Yes, with resources it's very possible. It's only a question of sufficient resources being deployed to do roads and drainages. If we can have RDA come on board to help us with roads and drainages, I can tell you to say that in the coming rain seasons, I'm not saying it can totally be eliminated, because I've mentioned those key houses which are built in dumbos. Those, nothing can be done about them. As painful as it is, nothing can be done about those. But those houses are not so few. Like I've told you, are not so many. There are about 25 houses. And it's for their own safety that they should move away from those Dambo areas which are prone to floods. I'm sure if you've been in areas like Chawama, there is what they call the Ngwenya Dam. In the Ngwenya Dam, that's like a permanent dam. It's always there. But there are those houses around Ngwenya Dam where when it rains like it has rained, people just leave those houses. So in those houses, you can't dig it and say, we will drain water from the Ngwenya Dam so that they are not affected. No. The advice has always been, leave those places. They are not fit for human habitation. And that's what we're saying about these dambos in Kamala South. I think there are two big ones. We're saying, leave those places. They are not fit for human habitation.
In case you're just joining us, we're discussing the flood situation in Zambia, and particularly in Kamala Ward 5, where the body of a boy was actually retrieved yesterday from the flood waters after he died on Saturday. Now, Mr. Smata, we've seen, like you mentioned earlier, where some children have continued. Of course, those who are big, but then maybe for those young ones, should the parents be fined or something? Because even just yesterday, after the boy was retrieved from the water, we saw children, and now it means that water is polluted because there was a dead body in there. We see these children even, submerging into the same water, and, maybe the parents are just looking on saying, oh, you can't control this one, but these are little kids. And just yesterday in Kuku compound, as an example, a 7-year-old boy and a 6-year-old boy drowned in the water. So maybe do you think we should go that route, maybe for the young children to save lives?
Honestly, I don't know what the solution is to stop these children playing in these waters. But I think most of the responsibility must come down on the households and the parents, because these are the people that live with these kids. I think no one in Lusaka, no parent in Lusaka doesn't know that it's dangerous at this time to let children go around playing in these waters. I think it's up to the parents, because, if you're going to talk about government stepping in, are you saying that maybe we should deploy police
Someone did suggest that at the site yesterday, saying, no, you need to arrest those parents who are leaving the children. Anyway, I don't know how attainable that is.
So it's difficult. I think for me, it's more about parental control, because if you want to bring in state control, I think it's not feasible that you start deploying the already stressed police manpower, which should be allocated for fighting crimes, to now go and watch over flood water bodies. I think that won't be feasible. I think the communities that live around those areas have to be alert and take responsibility. When they see some of these children, they have to chase them. Or if they're stubborn enough, I think it will do no harm to pick them up and maybe let them spend a day or two in cells. It's to save their own lives. But I think they at no time should residents living along those areas tolerate children playing in those waters.
The other concern was that as you make these drainages, there's need to fence them. I remember 2 weeks ago along Esterung Road, the drainages that separate Misisi and Kamwala, there were some children who were busy playing in those waters. So indeed, parents there were calling for civic leaders to ensure that in as much as they are putting up these drainages, but they should consider fencing them. Are we seeing that as you make more of these drainages in your ward?
I think that was part of the program when especially the Bombay drainage, because you are referring to the Bombay drainage.
Yes.
The Bombay drainage, when it was built, it came with pallets or metal fencings to block people accessing it. But you know what has happened? These scrap metal dealers have vandalized those fencings, and the Bombay drainage is just left open. And that's why you see they are easily accessible to children playing in those waters. So it comes down to the issues now of some of the things we grapple with as council. Scrap metal dealers and vandalism. They vandalize water pipes, they vandalize road signs, they vandalize protective pallets which are meant to prevent people getting to certain places like the drainages. So it will call again more allocation of resources. And Bombay Drainage was sponsored by the Millennium Challenge. That project is since stopped. So if we have to say we cover up the drainage, where are the resources going to come from? Because now we've got social and economic programs that we have to look forward to lift people out of poverty, instead of concentrating on covering up drainages. That would be another cost. But again, those the issues are left open. If the people say, well, let's allocate all the money to covering those drainages, then maybe we should go that route. But it isn't advisable, because there are so many issues that households are facing that need allocation of government funds to help them or lift them out of poverty.
Now, how attainable is the suggestion of advising people to demolish their houses? Is it something that is attainable, especially without an alternative land for these people, to prevent, the same problem? Like you mentioned, saying that some places cannot have the drainages due to the way they are constructed in the dambos. Is it an attainable thing to say, to advise people to demolish their houses, or will it be, maybe say people will maybe politicize the matter or something?
First of all, no one is talking about demolishing of houses, in as much as they are illegal. Because if you do an assessment of Lusaka, you find that maybe only 20% of houses have got either occupants licenses from the council, meaning they were planned and approved for, and they were given the occupants licenses and titles. Very few. Most houses in Lusaka did not even get building permission. Maybe even where you live and where I live, because it did not get building permission. So what the engineering department of the city council, because they did the assessment, what they advised is that those houses be vacated. Otherwise, there are no plans to demolish. We don't want to leave people homeless. If people are going to insist in living on those places, well, they're their houses, they spent on them, they put their savings in there. Their houses, nobody is going to take them away from them. But what we are saying is that the solution to these floods for those houses that are built inside the dambos or very close to the dambos, it's very, very, very difficult. Even if you ask the people that live there, actually when I was on the ground on Saturday, some of the members of the community called me and said, "Dear councillor, look, these houses which are being built here, there, and there, these houses were not supposed to be there. It's cadres that allocated those places. And even when we're building, we advise them to say, here where you have built, these places are going to be flooding." They did not listen. So clearly, it's an issue of building a house in the wrong place. And of course, I understand that the owners of these houses don't want to hear that. But that's the fact of the matter. Because come the next rain season, it will be the same story for those houses that are built close to the dambos, because those are perennial areas which flood. And by the way, the history of Kamwala South is that it used to be something of a swamp. There were even rivers in those areas. Somebody was even saying, they were even surprised to say that the council began to allocate areas, because way back, I think in the early 2000s, the houses in Kamwala ended in what you call New Kamwala. Up when they started doing the Kamwala site and service, Kawata site and service, those areas were literally flooded. And the worst flood, I think, happened during the MMD regime. That's when the suggestion even to build the Bombay drainage came up. So the issue of flooding can be resolved, but it can only be resolved for those houses that have been built in places where drainages are possible.
Now, have we, earlier on, like last week when we were in the community there with the district commissioner, we saw like the district commissioner actually suggesting some people that maybe they should break part of their offenses, to pave way for the construction of drainages. So do we see any like community sensitizations being done in the future, maybe to sensitize people to actually comply with the authorities, for example, if they want to break part of their offense because they're built on drainage land?
Exactly, because there's a possibility that without you doing sensitization before the exercise is being done.
Thank you very much. You are very correct in saying that a lot of houses or yards have encroached on what we call the road reserve, because initially they were supposed to leave ample space for service lines like water, electricity, sewer, and drainages. But most of the houses, if you point some places, you find that there's only about maybe 4 meters, even two vehicles can't pass each other. That's how compressed they are. So if we're going to go talk about drainages, the engineering department has advised to say that some of these wall fences have to be broken down to pave way for drainages. And if you ask some members of the community, because they've been given that option, say you want drainages, but look where your wall is ending. Others have said, we have no problem. What we want is service delivery. We don't want to every time to be flooded. So we are willing to comply. We are actually willing as a community to also assist you in identifying places or convincing some of our neighbors to say some of these walls have to come down to pave way for drainages. That's the only way that it's going to happen. So people have got an option either to comply with the breaking down of some wall fences in certain places to widen up the area enough for drainages to pass, or the flooding continues.
Let's talk about other issues that have continued affecting your ward, to be specific, in Kamwala. Are you having, with these floods, are you having issues of water? I'm saying tap water being, mixed up with these floods and stuff like that. Have you of late received those concerns?
Yes, indeed. The latest call that I got was at 23 last night, and it was coming from a community near an area where we call Laveka. There you have, because they use boreholes, so the septic tanks have mixed with flood waters, and they have also mixed with the borehole water. So for those, they are literally now buying water, for consumption or for drinking, and that's a very concerning situation. I've since engaged the Lusaka City Council and also Lusaka Water and Sewage Company to deploy some water bowsers. But of course, the response that you'd get is, councillor, we're overwhelmed. This problem is everywhere across Lusaka. We only have 5 water bowsers, so we have to rush on them. So you find that maybe it will come to my ward maybe 2 days later or 3 days later. So those are some of the logistical challenges that we have. In as much as we would want to respond, or the brigade, fire brigade or the water bowsers team would like to respond as soon as they can, they are limited in terms of the equipment.
We also saw some furrows being dug. Are those enough to contain, the floods that are currently happening, or maybe are they just cosmetic? The furrows that are currently being dug, are they enough to actually, avert that flood water?
By the ZNS or communities?
By the ZNS.
No, those are, because an assessment was done. Yeah, a technical assessment was done. So it's possible, like for the clinic, it's possible that those drainages can carry out much of that water. But those are remedial solutions. The long-term solutions are proper wide drainages. In fact, one of the technical guys did say that the majority of drainages which we have in Kamwala South and Lusaka generally are what you call spoon drainages. They are very, very shallow. But what we need is storm drainages, whereby in case of a heavy downpour, drainages are deep enough, wide enough, they've got the correct gradient to carry on, to carry the water. And I would also like to say that I was very disappointed on Saturday when we were cutting across one of the roads that links Kamwala South to Chawama. There are some inefficiencies in terms of engineering. We were cutting at a point where there should have been a culvert that should have passed under the drainage to connect the Bombay drainage from one side to the other. That hadn't been done. So I was wondering what kind of contractors or engineers were engaged to build such roads where you don't leave room for a culvert to pass underneath the road so that water can flow. So we had to cut across that road, and lo and behold, water has been flowing ever since. And yesterday I even received a report that some of the houses which had been left, because people had left some of the houses which had flooded, they have now started coming back because that channel has been open and the pressure in the terms of flooding of yards has been relieved and water is flowing. So I think there is a need for constructions in the future to be properly planned so that we don't have bottlenecks and blockages in some areas where water is supposed to flow. Then the other issue is that some of these floods are caused by indiscriminate garbage disposal. The garbage issue in Osaka, it's as perennial as these floods we are talking about. It's always there. In fact, the way the garbage issue is there month in, month out. What we're finding is that some of these drainage, they are stuffed with this, they are clogged with this waste and they can't flow. So we literally had to clear some of these places, remove the trash, and the water was able to flow. So I think once again, we want to appeal to communities to say, let's subscribe to these waste collection companies. I know there are problematic waste collection companies like Zoom Lion. I'm not afraid to mention it. Zoom Lion is a very big culprit as far as my ward is concerned. They only collect rubbish once a month. Once a month. Now with this rain that we have, people are keeping trash in their houses and it's rotting there, it's fermenting, it's mixing with water. It's a challenge. And that's why sometimes we find that people indiscriminately dispose these things. They are throwing them on the rail, they are throwing them on the drainages because of companies like Zoom Lion, which have urged the Lusaka City Council to say some of these companies which are not doing their job must be terminated. But I don't know where the challenge is. Each time you talk about terminating contracts, no, they are going to sue us, what? I said, it's better they sue us, but we get another contractor that's able to collect waste from people's homes and avert crises like this. Yeah.
Talking about garbage issues, let's just play one of the stories that we saw one of our reporters, Patrick Soko, doing in Kamala South, where residents of Lusaka's Kamala South area have called, or rather have requested, the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, and the Lusaka City Council to help avert possible environmental health issues in the wake of floods. Let's get direct into playing the story. We'll continue with our discussion.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Waste management, ranging from non-existing collection systems to ineffective disposal, causes air pollution, water and soil contamination. Open and unsanitary landfills contribute to contamination of drinking water and can cause infections and transmit diseases. Notably, Zambia has been highly affected by flash floods, and most communities are failing to cope with the effects, leading to the mixing of garbage, sewage and water, and Lusaka's Kamara South area in Kabwata constituency is among the worst affected. The stagnant, dirty water poses threats of waterborne diseases such as diarrhea, typhoid and cholera, and has further created a bleeding ground for mosquitoes. Those who spoke to Camnet TV News are calling on the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit DMMU to extend the provision of chlorine and other disinfectants among preventive measures.
Nafika nambala mumado bana bazapuru mukabwanji matenda kuli malaria tufuna ko chlorine at least nkabula ko baye ufubatilako mungola wa mosquito tufuna ko langwa tota ko mosquito net bantu bena ngutiba mosquito net tuza survive bwanji situation mwaona hapo so manyumba yonse pakati abantu bakuka kulimanzi kulibota ukabana kuyenda so chetupe mpako chabe mwaiwonera nozionera mubene bake tekuonekera kuno mabini afika mudo apa ungajire nsima pado munyumba pakafika chese 17 hours zitakuwa pa mosquito mainzi full munyumba
ndini manzi yachivuta so anapogwira tunakuti batiyanga mireko nani manipatali bana bangadwale fo shamtifuna ko ifenita ndiza pia tulakona musitone mankwala utinga tiwempo ndikiza kuti idingene pansi kuti bakatenga nireko.
Others are appealing to authorities to find a lasting solution to the problem of drainages in the area.
Ngonese kuma sites kwatu kuna peptili repeating kala pari danger pamagumu kapeka na toilet amene silipo na mushi so tipempa ko tandizwa president Roboma yanganirepo
uma mosquito koenda tizasoba manzi azura manyumba titanizireko migodi za paka kuno afunika bakonze batitandizireko atimeko matipa yo kuti batireko doti boma afunika tandizireko banganirepo vakansera vakuno vataireko nzeru votozingwa kudya chensima vankhala pamakomo vaziyang'ana kola vyevichitika mumasaidi mwanzawo.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Quite a sad situation that we've seen that these people, apart from being affected by floods, have also been affected by this waste that has risen along with the water. Your thought on that, Councillor?
Yes, like I was saying, issues of garbage or indiscriminate waste disposal are one of the biggest problems that we face as a local authority. And what we have been saying is that we need to ensure to say that some of these contractors that are given contracts by the council to collect are efficient, because it's a lack of collection. Of course, there are other places like the place that you have just shown. There is an illegal dump site just next to the mosque, and that's where even the flood situation is. That's why you've seen a lot of garbage is now floating on that water. There's been a plan, and I've since, I think about 6 months ago, I requested Lusaka City Council to shut down that garbage area. But when I went there last Saturday, I was even surprised to see there's even a small house that has been connected to electricity, and I'm told that is the office for the people that operate a dump site. So I was shocked to say that a dump site in the middle of a residential area has even got an office. And I'm told there are some people that come there.
So who's paying the same person?
Those are things that I want to investigate. But I'm told there are people that are making money from that dump site. I don't know.
Garbage manage.
Yes, I don't know if they are very pity saban to dump or those scavengers that come to pick bottles, they pay for them. But I'm told that's what that house is for. And actually that one is prime for demolition. I think anytime next week that house must go down. And I was even shocked that Zesco even connected power. So that's the same office. It's right next to the dump site. So those are some of the illegalities that are happening as far as this issue of waste is concerned. That dump site should not exist.
Is it the one near Yellow Shop? Because it's we found another
yes.
That's the same one?
That's the same one. That's like the biggest dump site. Like I said, the historical uptake of the issue is that used to be a quarry area where people used to mine limestone and other things to build houses. So in time, it became like a dam. Then again, the community tried to bury it. Then when they buried it, other people started dumping trash because you don't have what you call franchise contractors who collect garbage from that area. If they are there, they don't do their work. They simply get a contract from the council and then they go into oblivion. So the long-term plans is that some of these contractors who are given these contracts to collect garbage must either start working or they should have their contracts terminated. Then there's also sensitization, because waste is not just a problem for the council alone. Even the communities, they are also stakeholders. And I can tell you that in Kamwala, we only have about 15% of people that are subscribed to waste management. So the 85% are also culprits in dumping illegally. We've got these wheelbarrow pushers who pass through houses. I doubt if those wheelbarrow pushers, when they collect that waste, they go to the Matero dump site. I don't think they go that side. So they have places where they dump those things. And they are targeting the rail line. That's the waste heat area. And there are numerous complaints because that rail line is just next to the Bombay drainage. So when it piles up, the waste again starts falling into the drainage, causing and compounding the problems of flooding. So there is need for serious enforcement and also compliance by households to be paying for this waste collection. If that can happen, then we are going to hold the waste collectors, the waste collecting companies accountable. But as long as not everyone is subscribing, the waste collecting companies also say, but how can we work? We've got expenses to pay workers, we need diesel for the fuels, we need to hire the trucks. How are we going to be doing that if people are not subscribing? Yeah. However, in New Kamwala section, I'm aware to say that almost about 67% of the people, they pay Zoom Lion. But Zoom Lion is nowhere to be seen. When you get the receipt, try to call the numbers on the receipt, they are off. So from here, I'll go to mass media because I'm told that's where their offices are. I want to pay them a visit and I want to understand why is it that they're collecting money, yet they're not delivering a service. For me, that is theft.
Now, earlier on, you did mention about the contingency fund under CDF and how it can really help in solving some of these issues. Has the Ministry of Local Government been engaged to make sure that this fund is easily accessible? Because I remember last time I was in Kalingalinga where the councillor said the same thing because there were some toilets there that were overflowing, some pit latrines were overflowing, and he said, we've got money under, contingency fund, but I need to write a proposal and all that procedure. Has the ministry been engaged so that this bureaucracy is breaking down?
The ministry is very much aware about these bottlenecks and problems which we are facing with the CDF. And we've even called for a reviewing of some of these procedures, because at the end of the day, if you have to wait for 3 months for you to get access to what is called a contingency fund or an emergency fund, then what good is it? Because by the time you'd be getting it, maybe even deaths would have occurred, diseases would have occurred. So we are really facing that challenge in terms of access to these funds because of the procedure. And it's high time that I think the rightful officers expedited the process of reviewing some of these guidelines, because guidelines must be flexible according to the situations which we face as communities. If we have contingency funds, I don't think it should take 3 months for you to be able to access that fund for purposes of alleviating emergencies such as the floods we are seeing, maybe procuring tents or chlorine like that woman is saying, or mosquito nets, to help out in one way or the other, to help ease the suffering of the people during such times.
Ma'am, as we come to the conclusion of our program this morning, what are some of the things that the people of Kamwala should expect from you as their civic leader?
Thank you very much. I think this year we are going to direct most of the funds for projects towards road maintenance and drainages, because I think this is the biggest cry of the people of Kamwala. Almost everywhere that I've gone in the world, whenever you have a meeting, the issue of drainages and the issue of roads never misses out. So I think for me, this can be the biggest item on the scorecard for Kamwala Ward 5, and I'm urging the people of Kamwala that bear with us. I think we haven't been too prepared this year. We were caught off guard, but I think if anything, this disaster and the situation where we are of floods, I think it's a wake-up call for us as civic leaders. It's a wake-up call for government that we have to direct more effort into infrastructure development as far as roads, sewer installations, in terms of drainages are concerned. And we have urged council to procure more equipment in terms of graders, backhoe loaders, excavators, because this equipment will be needed throughout the year. I think the project of building roads and drainages should not just start and stop in a particular year. I think it should be a continuous process, so that I think come the next rain season, we won't have houses flooding up to window level.
Interesting. Yes. We hope to see that.
Thank you.
And as we just come to the end of the program, maybe just touching on the issues of decentralization as well as the council. I've heard many people talking about the councils holding this CDF money. What could be the problem when it comes to using the money now that we've seen the whole CDF being decentralized?
I'm not sure what you mean when you say that the CDF is decentralized.
This year we've heard it is going to be, is it decentralized to provincial level? What could be, because everybody is just looking at the councils like, what is causing the councils to just keep this money in the bank and not utilize it? Could it be fear of misappropriation, or maybe being accused of misappropriation? What is holding back the CDF from being used?
It's the guidelines. The guidelines and the processes of the money in the CDF to be released are very long, and they are very cumbersome, and there are a lot of bottlenecks. I'll give you an example. You're correct in saying that there's been some kind of decentralized or devolution of authority in terms of signing off for these monies. Previously, it was at the ministry. So you have all 156 constituents and all 1,855 wards submitting projects, all going through one ministry. Okay? And by the way, the Attorney General also signs off on payment for these projects. So that created a massive bottlenecks. But it's been devolved to the provinces. And what I'm saying is that further decentralization should be done. I think the decentralization should come down to as low as the local authorities. The local authorities or the town clerks and the chairpersons must be given enough authority to be able to authorize and waive off some of these projects. If it's done at the local authority, it will be very helpful, because as an area council, I can walk into the town clerk's office and say, my project hasn't taken off. Oh, it hasn't taken off. You request for a file, sign it off, and it's done. But if the town clerk tells you, no, we have submitted these proposals, they are now with the Ministry of Local Government. There's also a file which is also with the province. There's also a file which is with the Attorney General. There's also a file that has gone to ZPPA. I don't know how long it will be taking for these projects to be coming. And you've heard the sentiments which are even coming from the people. Others are even questioning, say, Manje Amene CDF still wanna. The money is there, but the process to release the money is what is taking long. And that's why we've been advocating as councillors to say, let the process be decentralized and brought down to the grassroots, brought down to the local authorities to release these monies so that projects can take place faster.
Your concluding remarks?
Well, my concluding remarks are that I would like to urge residents of Kamwala, Ward 5, and I want to assure them to say, as their councillor, I'm doing my level best to ensure to say that most of these problems that are being faced, such as floods, contamination of water, waste, and other pertinent issues, I'm working hard to ensure to say that they are resolved. But they must understand to say, I do not work as an individual. I do not work in isolation. I work with a local authority. That means if there are inefficiencies in the local authorities or there are bottlenecks or there are procedures, I just have to wait for those channels to be followed before they can see results on the ground. But otherwise, I'm there and I'm always pushing for the interest of service delivery in the ward.
Quite interesting there. So this is all. We do come to the end of our breakfast show. We're joined by Kamala, Ward 5 Councillor. Behind us, Mata, who was helping us discuss the flood situation in his ward, as well as the situation yesterday which led to that boy being retrieved from the water. Thank you very much, Mr. Smata, for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
And I hope to have another interesting topic next time. But anyway, this is where we do come to the end of the breakfast show. Do remember to join Sharon Kalimbula and Patrick Soko tomorrow as they take you into politics. From Miriam Kwemba and I and the entire Camnet crew, have a good morning.